environmental permits, and managing various environmental monitoring programs. This work demands collaboration with environmental consultants, governmental agencies, regulators, political appointees, and environmental non-governmental organizations. I also own an environmental consulting firm. When I'm not working, you can find me gardening, riding my horse, fishing, hiking, or hunting. I was hunting with my dad from the time that I could fit my finger in his belt loop and walk behind him. And some of my earliest memories entail tagging along with him on many bird, deer, and raccoon hunts. He led by example and taught me young the fundamentals of environmental stewardship, fair chase ethics, and ultimately, respect for the land and animals that inhabit it, including the ones that we were pursuing. I'm the product of my raising and the education I completed. I consider myself to be an avid outdoor enthusiast with a passion for wildlife and habitat conservation. I also consider my ethics second to none when it comes to hunting. To me, hunting is much more than taking a trophy. I hunt for food, clothing, protection of livestock, sustainability, biodiversity, training and honing my skills, education, and self-discipline. Hunting has fostered some of my best memories and has taught me more than I could explain in this introduction to myself. But I would love nothing more to use my knowledge of hunting, my professional aptitude, and my background in science to facilitate this passion, bring fresh perspectives to the Game and Fish Commission, and to teach others, given the platform to do so. Like past and present commissioners, I'm also a huge proponent of public land use and wish to preserve access to wild places for generations to come. However, I also have another paramount reason for wanting to serve on the commission. I'm sincerely concerned that the sport that I'm so deeply connected to is threatened by organizations and individuals who have never experienced the intimacy with the outdoors nor the relationship with wildlife that I have. Yet these groups proclaim hunting an atrocious example of humanity. They defame our morality and infringe on the heritage. These groups are highly motivated fundraising machines, and they are doing their dirty work in our states and in the states surrounding ours, so that little by little, the sport of hunting is being skimmed down and is under threat of vanishing. Fortunately, I'm familiar with the tactics that these organizations employ as I contend with them in my profession on a daily basis. My awareness of who they are, what they do, and how they operate will lend itself to the commission as we strategize to defend hunting privileges and work to ensure hunting is conducted under both laws and ethical guidelines in effort to preserve hunting in a positive public image. I believe I'm well suited and qualified to serve on the commission. In addition to being generally interested in their business dealings and wanting to have a voice, I've been following the commission's activities for the last couple of years and have participated in the public comment process, which has facilitated my familiarity with the issues and perspectives of this commission. I'm also intimately familiar with the legislative process, both at the state and federal levels, as I engage with regulators and propose rulemakings as a stakeholder in my line of work. I'm also accustomed to collaborating with other agencies to accomplish common goals, overcome obstacles and adversity, or to educate. My tenure in academia and being an environmental scientist demands that I rely heavily on data and statistics in my decision-making process, which will help ensure that science has a seat at the table. I will help the Commission continue their fight to preserve public lands in Arizona for all recreational uses, and I will work equally hard to ensure that game and non-game species alike thrive within our state's borders. I can only imagine that the strength of the Commission and success of their work relies on the abilities, qualifications, and various backgrounds of those individuals who make up the Commission. Historically, the commissioners have been male, and while they have impressive biographies, I believe it would add tremendous value to the Commission to diversify its demographic by appointing a female hunter to serve alongside them. I'm eager to advocate for all outdoorsmen, be a role model for youth hunters, and a representative for sportswomen. In closing, I would like to say that it is an honor to be considered for this appointment, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. And we will proceed to ask questions. Each one of the board members can ask a question and a follow-up, and then we go through a second time, do the same thing. Your responses may get us going on other questions, so here we go.
Okay.
All right, so how about Charlie? Excuse me, Rich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. McCune, please tell us what you believe to be the two most important issues that the Arizona Game and Fish Department faces in the next 5 years.
Drought and access to public lands.
Would you care to ask anything to expand upon that?
How would you attack both those issues?
So drought is, we live in Arizona. Obviously 2020 was one of the worst droughts we've had. And while we had a good monsoon season this year, we can only expect that we're not going to have those types of rains in future monsoon seasons, certainly not every monsoon season. So it's really a management strategy that the department has to plan to tackle long term. Funding is a huge pitfall to, so for example, they hauled over 3 million gallons of water last year and this year, and that gets really expensive. So I think one way to ensure long-term survivability of drought readiness is going to be to ensure that the department has funds to do that. On the public land access side, 23% of Arizona lands are truly available to the public for recreation. Many lands are designated special uses. There's landowner issues, and I think one way that the commission department can work to ensure access to public lands is by working directly with landowners. Education and providing incentives for some of these landowners to allow access through their properties to get to state land.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Phil?
Thank you very much for coming today. Appreciate you giving up your hunt. Which question I will ask, I think the answer is obvious. Do you have a current Arizona hunting and fishing license?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I have a lifetime combo license.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so my real question for you is, can you tell us what experience you have in public policy and how you could use this experience in your role as a Game and Fish Commissioner?
Sure. So I work at a coal-fired power plant, and because we burn fossil fuels, certain organizations, we have a target on our back because we are one of the only coal-fired power plants in the nation left. But because of that, we have a target on our backs, and we're also a cooperative, which means we don't have investors. We are member-owned. We're a nonprofit, and we have to be very careful about how we conduct a business, being a cooperative, and on the public policy side, I'm not a PR person for my company, but being an environmental specialist, I have to ensure that on the compliance side, we are doing our due diligence for the benefit of the members that we serve, but also we have to work continuously with various environmental, non-governmental organizations to continue to be able to produce reliable, affordable power for our constituents. And from a perspective side, being like burning coal, that in itself is a delicate balance of policy and public perception that, my role as an environmental specialist have to contend with, because I think I'm rambling, I'm sorry, but we have to appease our constituents, but also follow the law and work with ENGOs to allow us to continue to burn fossil fuels.
Pat?
A major key to having an effective 5-member commission is having every member attend and participate in every meeting. given your current occupation and other obligations, are you able to fulfill this tremendous commitment of time to serve as a commissioner?
Absolutely, and my employer and my boss, who's the executive director of legal and corporate services for Arizona Electric Power Cooperative, is fully aware of my wanting to be involved with the commission, and I believe she submitted a letter of recommendation for me to do so, so I should have full support.
Morning, Justine. Thanks for coming in today. My first question for you, with the onset of the COVID pandemic that started in 2020, Arizona, like many states, has seen a huge increase in sportsmen taking to the field. This trend has created increased demand for hunting and fishing opportunities. As a commissioner, what steps would you take to increase these opportunities while conserving our fish and wildlife populations?
So firstly, yes, I've been hunting since Friday, and I've definitely noticed last year too that there are a ton of hunters out there in areas that I used to not run into many people at all. I think that this is a good thing. I believe that, again, working with landowners to increase access to public lands or to state lands is one initiative that needs to be on the forefront of the commission and department scope to ensure that the land is available for all these additional outdoor recreationists. I also think that so the Game and Fish issues a number of tags based on science-driven management considerations, and that in itself should limit the number of people that are taking to the outdoors, at least from a hunting perspective. Also, we'll go back to drought and fisheries. That's a huge problem for Arizona, and I will reiterate that drought is going to be one of the largest concerns for the department, one of the largest challenges to tackle moving forward, and preserving those fisheries needs to be at the forefront in order to allow fishermen to continue to have access to hunt the waters that they want to.
Probably just as a quick follow-up question, Justine, what different hunting opportunities have you taken advantage of, like archery, muzzleloader, rifle?
I've been hunting archery for about 10 years, and it's definitely, so if I don't fill my tag during this hunt, I will be hunting in December with my bow. That's not novel to me. I've been archery hunting for a while now. I've never hunted with a muzzleloader, but my family does, and they've definitely tried to convince me to go out during the muzzleloader season. That's not something that I have personally embarked on yet, but I am not opposed to it. But yeah, personally, archery and rifle hunting are my main sources, or main methods.
Thank you. That explains your background. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you very much, and proceed to me. Okay. You've raised some very interesting issues, and you've had experience with them, and that is that the state of Arizona has a responsibility for the management of wildlife, but we also deal with a federal government interface where they assert certain management obligations and responsibilities. That is a matter of constantly negotiating the interface. And would you like to comment on that?
Are you speaking of these other interfaces? Are you speaking of the non-governmental organizations or other governmental organizations?
I'm really familiar with both, but in this case, let's deal with the governmental interface between Arizona's management responsibilities through the commission, and the department implements those, and then the federal government has an interface with that. In terms of one of the issues that you also brought up, and that is access for recreation for the public, for hunting, for fishing, for all others. Access can be increased, as you have pointed out, by cooperation with landowners who then provide more access to lands that are best accessed through private property. And that is certainly a responsibility of the department and the commission. The commission has an organization, a group within the commission that's called the Landowner Lessee Sportsman's Cooperation Committee. Okay? And for years, decades, they've been working to increase access, to motivate people who are dealing with numbers of hunters or other recreationists coming by their home and going through their gates, which they keep open. And we have signs out that say, public access granted, just please don't litter, and so forth. How do you feel that you would be able to work to increase that access, since the increased population in the state of Arizona and the need for public recreation opportunities is pretty much only addressed through that, because the federal government's end of it is legislatively mandated, with, like, if you have a wilderness, okay? So we are looking to see how you would advance the cooperation between the landowners who have access to some of the state lands or forest lands for the purposes of wildlife recreation.
Sure. So, landowners, if they have locked gates and are preventing access to state land or forest land or public land through their locked gates, it's usually because of a reason. And I think it's important to have one-on-one conversations with landowners who are preventing access to public lands, to figure out their reasoning for blocking access. And once the actual problem is identified, then you can work on a path forward. And that's going to be, specific to the landowner. With governmental organizations, I know that the department forms several agreements or memorandums of understanding with municipalities. Actually, where I work, we have a wildlife viewing area for sandhill cranes because we're near the Wilcox Playa. That was an agreement that was formed between my company long before I got there and the Game and Fish to, provide access. I think, so I'm well written and I am very research oriented. So every case is going to be different, but how I can contribute is I'm very diligent and I'm a perfectionist. And so if I am engaged with the commission and I'm tasked with working with other agencies, I will make sure that I am incredibly informed on the issue before working with them. And yeah, as far as landowners are concerned, I think that personal communication and informing relationships with these landowners is paramount.
Thank you very much. All right, we will proceed with our second round of questioning. This time I will start with Charlie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Justine, my second question has to do with several attempts in recent years by groups to curtail the take of mountain lions and bobcats. This issue has also challenged the role of the Commission and the Department in managing Arizona's wildlife through science-based conservation, with the risk of wildlife management being decided instead at the ballot box. How do you view this threat? And what steps do you feel are important for the commission and department to take in the future to protect their authority to manage Arizona's wildlife?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked this question. My opinion is that politics and science shouldn't mingle. And being a scientist, I'm driven by what the data and statistics report. I believe that education and outreach is going to be really important moving forward to educate the general population on predator control and how predator control actually preserves game and non-game species. So these organizations that generally attack issues like this, they don't just stop at mountain lion bobcat hunting. As I'm sure you guys are all aware, there's been several steps taken in the recent past in response to non-governmental organizations finding an issue and going after it and not stopping until they have their wish. So that's not going to stop by those organizations, but I receive emails from the Game and Fish. I keep up on the activities of the commission and of the department, and one area that seems to be lacking is just general outreach to the generic population on these issues that are controversial in nature. So I think that it would help the department and the commission's cause by informing those who may not take the initiative to research these issues on their own.
Thank you, and I know you touched a little bit on this in your opening remarks, so thank you for that.
No problem.
Would you please expand on the concept of fair chase?
Yeah. So fair chase to me is, so when you hunt in Arizona, you don't have hunting farms. And I don't hunt out of a tree stand or out of a blind generally, but to me, fair chase means the pursuit of a truly wild animal with that is free ranging, and ensuring that I am not given an unfair advantage over said animal, and that they are given ample opportunity to, escape my pursuit. But fair chase is very important to me. I hunt archery a lot because I feel like that is a prime example of fair chase and lessening my technological advances. And it's just super rewarding, in my personal opinion, when you make it harder on yourself to harvest an animal. Mm-hmm.
Would you have a follow-up?
No.
Okay, thank you. Phil?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. East. If you were appointed to the Game and Fish Commission, what would be your long-term and short-term goals or priorities for the department?
Admittedly, I know I've never been engaged in this process before. I do keep up with meeting minutes and agenda items to know generally what is going on, but short-term goals, I might have to come back to that. But long-term goals, I think is going to preserve the ability to hunt in face of these various opposing groups that the commission, the department have to contend with. Also, I don't want to sound repetitive, but I think landowner or public access is a concern that really needs to be focused on. That would be another issue that long-term I would be very interested in taking on as a commissioner. And short-term goals. I don't have an answer for that right now, and I apologize. It's not something that I thought about.
That's okay. If you think of it before you leave, let us know. But thank you.
And thank you very much, okay? And also,
Please describe the North American model of wildlife conservation and how it relates to the Arizona Game and Fish Commission and to the Arizona Game and Fish Department.
The Arizona Game and Fish Commission is tasked with establishment of policies to manage wildlife, fisheries, and ensure, and harvest. And then the department conducts research, and they're the science division of this body that implements the management at an applicability level to ensure that populations are sustainable for generations to come.
Thank you.
would you have a follow-up?
No, I don't.
No, all right. Okay. I'm an old member of that landowner, let's see, ranchers, sportsmen's cooperating committee. I mean, from way back when I served on the commission, okay? And it's important to me to see what steps, what you favor in terms of increasing that cooperation. The department has worked on it very assiduously and very effectively over these last couple of decades. There's always work to be done, partially because more and more land is becoming either subdivided, into housing, or designated as some type of federal refuge or wilderness study area or something which restricts access. So maintaining that public access through cooperating landowner agreements, how would you propose to make that move forward?
I think that incentives work well. So for example, if you have a rancher who has a locked gate, is preventing access to land that should be able to be recreated on, one approach is to assist the rancher with something that would interest them. One example could be, ensuring water for stock tanks, which is dual purposed because stock tanks provide water for not only their livestock, but also wildlife, which would benefit hunters. You could stock those stock tanks if it's large enough, which would be beneficial for people who like to fish. And also just outdoor recreationists in general would benefit by having access to the land, but also the increased amount of wildlife that you would see, birds, game and non-game species alike, would attract people there. But like I said earlier, one problem that landowners have is vandalism, not closing gates behind them, trash being left. So you really have to find root causes and go after those issues. And I think that outreach is one way to do that, but like I said, it's specific, and so you have to identify the issue prior to finding a solution. But so I think, in summary, finding incentives that work well for the landowner, whoever that may be, is one strategy to help open up those lands.
Thank you very much. All right. Would you like to make a closing statement? Unless anyone else has a follow-up that has been triggered by anything that's been said. All right, your turn.
Thank you. Thank you guys for inviting me to be here today. I honestly had no idea what to expect, because if you look on the Game and Fish Commission's website, it just says if you're passionate about the state's wildlife, you should apply. So obviously there's a lot more to it than just being passionate about wildlife, and While I am a participant of, outdoor recreation in this state, I know that I would have a lot to learn. And I know that the commissioners that would be working alongside me are very intelligent. They're experts in their field, and they've been doing this for longer than I have. And I'm just very eager to work with them, be a participant, contribute what I am able, and reap the benefits of being taught by them. So thank you again for inviting me to be here today, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you very much, Justine.
Thank
Okay?
you.
And we will be proceeding on with our agenda, and thank you. If you would like to stay, you can stay. If you need to go about your other business, whatever, but you are welcome to stay.
Okay, thank you very much.
We bet. Bye-bye. All right. Our next candidate is Jim Ohako. I don't know if he's currently already here.